Thanks so much for making time to talk with me again. I did want to delve into a few more things that we didn't have time to cover in the earlier conversation. And that's just to get
Okay.
a few more specifics in terms of what it is that you would seek to do if elected to the board. And I know that you had talked a lot about being the voice of students, about ensuring that how the board sets its budget kind of mirrors what the priorities should be. But I guess I'm wondering if there are any specific uh, areas that, or proposals or changes that you want to see enacted by the board.
Yeah, thank you. Initially, one of the biggest one, I shouldn't say one of the biggest, but something that's very near and dear, for me is I've worked with kids for a long time. I've seen kids that we've pushed into college really not be successful because it just wasn't for them. And I agree that all kids should have the option to go to college, but I believe that it should be just that. It should be an option and not like this is it. In order for you to be successful, you have to go to a traditional 4-year college. You have to do this. So I really want to do a lot of work looking at the budget and the school district and how we're connecting with the different trade programs that are out there, from like the different unions, the electrical union, the plumbers union, the mechanical union, all these different trades that really people, they do great work. You can make 6 figures a year being an electrician. You can buy homes and put kids through college being a certified plumber and a journeyman plumber and doing different things. And I want us to really promote that. What we want is for our kids to be successful, and how they get successful doesn't have to end up being the traditional, you go to high school, you go to college, you find a job working for someone, and then you can do the trades route. And so I want to see us, as I'm looking at the board, I want to see us looking at how are we introducing the different trades programs as a value asset to the schools sooner rather than later. How are we introducing the union, not just the I want you to be a part of a union, but how are we introducing the trades work and the opportunities as kids are like coming out of middle school, as they're freshly into high school, and how are we opening up our doors for these trades programs to create opportunities for kids to learn more about the trades while they're in school instead of waiting for them to get out of school. And I believe if we take a look, and that's why I was talking about the budget, because I believe if we take a look at our budget and where we're spending our dollars, that we may find that there is some funding available to work with the trades unions and the different departments to bring their program and create a curriculum around specific trades and specific areas that would give kids an opportunity to really figure out what it is they like. Benson used to be known years and years ago as you want to go to nursing, you got to go through Benson because they had an amazing magnetite program. And now with Jeff, they're trying to say you want to get the early advance into college, you got to go to Jeff. How do we create? Look at our dollars, look at our vendors, look at our contracts, look at where we're spending our money, look at our curriculum, and say, how do we give kids another option outside of just looking at the traditional 4-year college? And so I think that's very important to me. And that would be something that I will be looking at every dollar that comes across the board, because I understand that, and I talk too much. They tell me this. I'm a terrible like politician because I don't have short answers. But they tell me that sometimes you get, as a board member, you get recommendations. We recommend this and we recommend that. I want to look at every single thing that comes across the board with the from the lens of, if our BIPOC kids are important to us, how does this help them get where we want them to be at? every single one. And I think we need to not come in with the preset, let's just do this and it's going to work. No, let's look at this. Let's talk about this. Let's look at the impact of it. And then let's make a decision that we feel good about, and that we believe is truly going to do what we're saying it's going to do. And so I'm
Mhm.
gonna stop talking now.
Okay. No, that sounds great. Thank you. Just in terms of the budget, have you had a chance to kind of look at it at all? Like, for instance, are there areas where you feel like the school district could or should be cutting back on in order to put more money into initiatives like this?
I have not been able to see the full-on budget. Like I haven't. I've seen, I've heard in whispers. I've gone to a lot of board meetings, and I've sat in on a lot of board meetings as they pertain to working with, we're really doing equity, wanting to make sure that our contracts were being equitable, and that we were working with vendors of color, and that we were giving the after school program specifically, that we were working with a lot of programs that we're going to be working with kids of color. So I've sat in on some of those meetings, but all of the specifics around the budget of this is what we can do, or this is what they're saying we can do, and this is what they're saying that we can't do, or the understanding of the why we're having to do this way, I have not been privy to that. As a board member, I'm not naive to think I'm going to come in and this isn't like a presidential thing where I can say, in the first 100 days, this is what I'm going to do. I don't foresee that it being like that at all. So I'm not naive to think that I'm gonna go in and within the first 100 days, I'm gonna change the whole school system. But I am excited about the opportunity to get on the board, to be working with Miss Michelle and others, Miss Julie Brim Edwards, Ailey, a lot of these board members that I know have been really trying to move the needle for the BIPOC community. I'm excited to have the opportunity to get on the board and be able to look at this from a fresh set of eyes, a fresh perspective, and bring that energy back, into the board. And really, they've really been holding it down, trying to hold it down for us for a while. And so I want to get in there, bring a new level of excitement without any ties,
Mhm.
to just making this right for our kids.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about what your involvement has been with schools in your zone? I think you had mentioned that your daughter is a teacher at Roosevelt. Is that right?
Yeah. My daughter is she's a teacher at Roosevelt High School. She's an avid teacher. But I'd say I was when Miss Charlene Williams was the principal at
Mhm.
Roosevelt High School. I want to say that was Charlene Williams would have been like 2012, 2013. Um, I started volunteering around that time, and um, I would put in somewhere in the neighborhood of about 20 to 30 hours a week, just volunteering at Roosevelt High School. I would go up there. I would do mentoring with the kids. When they would have back then they had in-school suspension, and we were trying to get away from that now, but at that time we were still using in-school suspension. And so oftentimes I would sit in with another teacher or another individual as a community person, as a parent. I would sit in with the in-school suspension and I would work with the kids there. I would work with them on getting homework done. I would work with them on being an advocate as to like why they're there, how they could have done it differently. I worked with parents to educate them on, if you have concerns about how your child is being treated, that you can ask for an ombudsman from the district, and you can sit down and you can, you can require them to talk it out to figure out what's going on. I've sat in on IEP meetings for students who were, having just struggles, with the day-to-day of a class, and not really understanding themselves. And when Miss Charlene left, I was doing the same thing when Philippe Haristic. So Philippe Haristic came in, and he was the principal, and I was volunteering at Roosevelt. Ben Kiefer was the principal down at George Middle School, and I was spending my time. So I would spend about 15 hours a week at Roosevelt and about 15 hours a week at George doing some of the same stuff because I know a lot of these kids. I know a lot of these families because I've been here. I haven't gone anywhere. I've lived within the same 6 mile radius since 94.
Mhm.
And so all of my work has been with families in northeast Portland. And so when Philippe left, Katie Parman came on. She's the principal at Roosevelt now, and I worked heavily with her. And each one of these principals that I worked with, and when Ben left George, he went to Vernon, and Levert Robinson came in. And so with each one of these principals, they had different initiatives that they would want me to work on. Miss Charlene wanted me to work on community and business involvement. So I would be working with churches to get churches involved with the school. I was working with the tire shop up the street. It's called the S Tire Shop now, to get them connected with the school. I was working with the auto body shop down on Pheasant. I worked with these different ones to get them. Basically, we want to wrap our arms around the school, wrap our arms around the kids. They would donate water at football games. They would, just do different things to support the school. The churches started doing a campus cleanup at Roosevelt High School, and then we moved it down to George Middle School. Really just getting the community and businesses involved, understand that this is our community school. Roosevelt is special in that it's one of the few schools where it's a community high school, and then it's got 3 separate feeder schools that come directly into Roosevelt. So it's a big family oriented cluster. Um, so that was what Miss Charlene wanted me to work on. I did that. When Philippe came in, he wanted me to work on parent involvement, because parents at that time, they had just built the school. A lot of families were starting to feel like they didn't build Roosevelt for Black people. They built it because gentrification was really starting to happen. And so families were being moved out into the numbers. And they were starting to get this feeling that Roosevelt wasn't being built for the Black and brown students, that it was being built for the new white students that were going to be coming in. And Philippe, that was literally breaking his heart. So he says, Herman, I need you to help me get more Black and brown families back into the school. I need them to be touring the school. I need them to be asking questions about the school, coming to family nights. So that's what I worked on. I started getting the families connected to the school. We would have coffee days. We did the coffee with the principal days, and we started getting that going so that families could come back. They could speak with the principal. We moved it from being in English to English and Spanish. So you would have the English families come in at 1 hour, and then the Spanish families come in at another hour, because we were really trying to make sure we were intentional about reaching out to all of our families, letting them know that this is your school. This was built for you, with you in mind.
Mhm.
And so that was a big initiative that we worked on. I believe we were very successful at it. It's still going now. And then when Katie came in, her initial initiative was that the Black students in the school aren't together, and she really wanted to see the Black Student Union be built back up, and for it to really come alive. It had some beginnings, but she really wanted the students to come on board. And so I came on board. I started working with the BSU, creating a charter, getting them connected with the larger BSU, allowing students to drive the initiative, and they would drive what we did. We went out and we got T-shirts. The kids, were wearing the BSU T-shirts. We were putting up flyers all around the halls, getting other kids to join. They started reaching out to the middle school kids saying, when you come in, we want you to be a part of this. But it was all driven by the kids. But the directive that I had was like, okay, I'm working with the principals, working with the community, and working with the kids to make this better for all of our students, right? We want all of our students to be successful.
Mhm.
And I've just done a lot of volunteering in the school. I've sat in on discipline meetings. I've broken up fights. I've defended teachers amongst the families, because a lot of times, there's spaces where the teachers aren't being understood, And the parents come in and they're yap, 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 yap. No, you can't do this to my child. You can't say that to my child. Yeah. And they're screaming. And again, because I have relationships with the community, I come in as a voice and hey, 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 mom, hold up, hold up, hold up. You haven't even given her a chance to say what was going on, or him a chance to say what was going on. I know this individual. We need to listen to see what was going on. So I become a voice, a sounding board for both sides, because I don't have the luxury of choosing a side. I don't have a luxury of saying, well, I'm for them and against them. I just don't. I have to sit with every side, and I have to hear every story. I have to hear everything that was going on. And then, because the truth is not either or, the truth is laced with a combination of both. And we got to be objective in that. And so again, I talk too much, but I've done a lot of work and a lot of involvement with this school, with this community, because I love it so. And that's why I'm running.
Okay, thank you. Um, and then, one other area I want to ask you about is just kind of some of the policies or decisions that the board has made in recent years. And I guess I was wondering if there's anything that sticks out in your mind as either a decision you heartily agreed with or disagreed with. And if you can talk a little bit about why.
I'm just stuck out. I would, if I'm being honest, I think I would say that it was when we started having courageous conversations,
Mhm.
and we started really talking about we started talking about courageous conversation, the impact of it, and then we also started talking about at the same time restorative justice
Mhm.
and the need for restorative justice within the schools. And as much as I agreed with the concept of what they were doing, I didn't feel like enough education had went into helping everyone to understand truly what restorative justice means, and that this is a restorative justice is a system-wide concept. It can't just be a school or an office. It has to flow from the top down and not from the bottom up. And I don't feel like we did a adequate job making sure that everyone from the top down understood what it really meant to have restorative justice. When you think of the idea of restorative justice, we need to restore, right? We need to restore, mend something that has been broken. And sometimes the break came from the people that were in authority. And when we didn't require the people that were in authority to have to sit down at this circle, the same way we were requiring our students to have to sit down in this circle, then there was a breakdown, because it can't work that way. It just cannot work if everybody involved is not sitting at the table. And I love my teaching staff. I do. We have some absolutely amazing teachers at Roosevelt and at George and at Cesar Chavez and at Peninsula and Astor, the schools that I've worked with in the past. We have some. When I say amazing, these teachers, they come out of their own pockets. They're spending their money. They're working late hours. They're coming in early. The teachers care, but because they're under so much pressure, and because they're being attacked on so many different sides, to require that teacher to sit down in a room and admit that, and say that, yes, I did something wrong, and that I need to do something to make that right. And because it wasn't a clear education from the top down on what that looks like and how that's going to work, teachers got fearful in that, wait a minute, are you trying to say that I'm not doing my job? Are you trying to say that I don't care about my kids? Are you trying to say that I don't believe in this work? No, I'm not going to sit down with you so that you can attack me. And then no, I need my union rep. And so I would hear that saying, no, if I'm going to sit down, I need my union rep. As a child, they don't get to say, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to sit here. You can't make me talk about this. I want my union rep. They don't get that option. And because they don't get that option, there's an unequal balance now because the child is expected. You're going to sit here and you're going to do what you're told. We're going to have restorative justice, but it's not reciprocal all the time. And so I feel like what we should have done, what we could have done, is spend a lot more time around educating from a system approach, from the top down. This is what restorative justice is going to look like. We should have had the unions involved from the beginning, saying we're going to be instituting a restorative justice process, and this is what restorative justice looks like to us. This is what restorative justice means to us. This is what we're going to be requiring from all of our staff, including our teachers, including our administrators who don't have unions to support. This is what we're going to require from the top down of when we say restorative justice, this is what it means. When it comes to courageous conversations, we talked about the impact of, you're going to be talking about some stuff that we're not going to be able to make solutions for. It's going to be hard. And we have to agree that we're going to finish talking about this. It's going to be heated, and we may have to walk away without a solution at all. And that was hard.
Okay.
And so those are some of the things that I feel like we could have did a much better job on, just educating our staff and community around what the impact of courageous conversations and the impact of restorative justice and how these things work.
Okay. And in terms of the board's role in that, it would be just ensuring that the district is issuing those communications, is clear about its approach and involving the different parties.
And also making sure that, make sure that we're clear about it. Make sure that we, from a board perspective, is there funding that we need to allocate to make sure that they have all the resources necessary? Is there funding that we need to allocate so that we can make sure that everyone is getting the proper training without coming out of their own pocket to have to pay for different trainings? We're expecting teachers who are the frontline workers of our education system, the frontline workers for our future. We're expecting them to not only figure it out, but pay for how they're going to learn to figure it out. That's not fair. So we need to look at our budget dollars and say, okay, how do we make sure, because this is important to us, that we have line items in the budget that say, okay, this is for education around restorative justice. This is for education around this. This is for education around the things that we believe to be vital for a healthy education system. Not just, well, we've always given money to this, so let's give it some more money. No, just because we did it 20 years ago doesn't mean that we need to keep doing it today. When we did it 20 years ago, it had a purpose, it had a reason, but it's possible that purpose and reason has wore itself out. And now we need to be looking at something different to get a different result. And so I went from the board perspective, I'm looking at are we putting our money where our mouth is? Or do we just like to talk? Because some people they just love to talk, man. It's like, oh yeah, do this, say this, and it's wonderful, and it's gonna make people smile. But I'm talking about word and deed. Put your money where your mouth is. My granny used to say, it takes money to buy land. That's what I'm looking at. You can talk about it all day, but it takes money to buy land.
Okay, great. I think that pretty much covers the follow-up questions I had. Is there anything else that you want to add in terms of just priorities or anything along those lines about why you are the best candidate?
I hate to toot my own horn, but I've been doing this for a long time. This work it's not new to me. This isn't a new work. It's not something that that I just started doing. I wasn't born as a result of a pandemic. I wasn't born as a result of a riot. And so this is something that I have done. I've invested 20 plus years and making sure that these kinds of works have been done, advocating for families and communities, boots on the ground. Today, the only thing I'm changing is today is the hat that I'm wearing.
Mhm.
Because today the hat is around policy and procedure. It's about the underbelly of the advocation that needs to be done so that we can have systemic change. See, when you're on the ground advocating, you're making effort, you're making right now change. When you get into policies and procedures, you start making systemic change. And
Mhm.
so today, I'm just switching hats. I'm the same guy. I believe in the same community and the same people. But
Mhm.
today, I'm switching hats to say, now it's time to start looking at a system-wide approach so that we can have longevity in the change that we're going to be getting, so that the change isn't just for today, the change is for tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that and the day after that. Because change, you can change, okay, that person is going to say it or that person is going to say it. Until we start changing the policies and the procedures, the what gives them the right to do what they do, we're going to get the same stuff because they're
Mhm.
going to always revert back to, well, my bylaws say this. Well, we were able to do this because the rules say this. We want to change the rules.
Mhm.
And we're going to make sure that the people that have been marginalized, minimized, and forgotten about, that day is done. And this is the season with everything that's happening all around us, with all the gun violence that we're seeing, with all of the craziness. I was just at a murder homicide scene last night till like 2:30 in the morning. And as I'm sitting out there, I'm looking at kids that I have seen since they were in middle school, and they're all hurting. The key to gun violence that we're seeing, and it has nothing to do with that, but the key is education. we have to give them we have to give them a better education of themselves, who they are and what they're capable of doing and who they're capable of being. This is the time. There's no time like now. And that's why I'm the best candidate. That's
Mhm.
why I'm the best person. That's why I know that I'm going to do this,
Mhm.
because I believe in this with all my heart. And I know that I'm not riding for me. I'm riding for a community that's been supporting me. So the reason that I look tall is because I'm standing on this community that's saying, keep speaking for us, keep batting for us, keep talking for us. And in the end, I think the community is going to speak, that they're putting in place the people that they believe are truly going to speak on their behalf. And then we're going to begin to make the changes that they want us and need us to make. So
Mhm. Great. Well, thanks very much. I appreciate it. I think if I may have a couple things here and there, and I'll just follow up afterwards. But thank you again for making time. I know that we're both kind of looking to at the clock about what's coming next. But thank you so much.
you are so welcome, and thank you for taking the time to interview me.
Sure. Take care.